All right, well, welcome everybody to Two Guys and a Stack of Comics. My name is Reed. Along with me, as always, is Mike. Mike, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. There's the stack of comics right behind me.
So you got some Flash there. We'll bring out some classic Flashes here in a sec. Today we're going to talk a little bit about multiverses. Kind of the concept of the multiverse, whether we think it's been a good thing or a bad thing for both comic books, and I think now ultimately comic book media that we're starting to see it in. Obviously, this is the concept. I think DC really originated the multiverse. Mike, I know you're a big Flash fan. I think it kind of starts with your guy Barry there and Jay Garrick. So let you show off your Flash 2023 right there.
This one here started it all. Yeah, an amazing comic for a Flash fan like me. Yeah, I grew up getting comics in the '70s, so I didn't, get this baby off the newsstand for 10 cents
Yeah,
like I wished I would have because I wasn't even born yet.
yeah,
But for someone like me, early on, when we were collecting, when I was the only kid who really got into the older comics, but and collecting wasn't a real big thing back then.
hmm,
So there were no comic shops. So what we would do is we would you go around to paperback book exchanges,
yep,
and they would have back issues there. One of the things when I first started reading comics was, okay, my character is on comic number 200. What happened before? And
yeah,
there's like 200 more issues out there I got to get. And half of those for Flash were all in the golden age. Flash started numbering at 105 in 1959 when he got his own reoccurring title. And they started that numbering because back in the old days, before comic shops, it was a bad thing to have a number one because your distributors and your retail shops were kind of scared to carry it because hey, it's a number one. We don't know if it's going to sell. Who knows? Is there going to be a number two? We don't know. And
yeah,
so it was wherever they could, comics would try and continue their continuity. So yeah, so when I found out that there was, you know, Flash started at 105, well then where are the other 104 comics? Well, they were all back in the golden age. And I was fortunate enough to catch the fever back then when I did came across a copy of Flash number 53, no, 51, from the 1940s. And it was fascinating. So, but of course, every once in a while in the Bronze Age, you would get a Jay Garrick appearance, and you know, and so it was kind of cool. And DC used it as a device to help bring back their old characters. This had been tried in the 50s from Marvel. They were Atlas back then, but they tried to bring Captain America back and Submariner back in the 50s, and it failed. So once DC got kids interested in superheroes again, when they put out the Flash but revamped him
yeah.
in Showcase and gave him this new sleek modern look rather
Hmm.
than the look of the guy with the old helmet, which people mock, but I personally love
Yeah,
the winged helmet. It's so cool. But it was used as a device to help open the gate
kind
to
of bridge
bring
the
in,
gap between the two.
yeah. And so, but by the mid 60s, by using the multiverse, they had brought back Dr. Fate, the Hawkman, all these other great Golden Age
JSA
characters.
classic characters, yeah.
Yeah, and gave them a place in comic history again, and they've carried forth. Some have had more success than others, but they've been strong characters, and even in the animated series, they use them, and so they called it Earth 2.
Yep.
So DC kind of played it safe. There was only two. like Marvel, they like 600,
Yeah,
whatever.
or 616 or whatever. Yeah,
It was just the two, but it was kind of a cool concept, and Flash could get there by vibrating his molecules to the same frequency as the other universe, and that's how we would go in between. And I always thought that was kind of cool as a kid. It was like, oh, he can go back in time and forward in time. Oh, also he can go to different universes, but because he can vibrate his molecules at different frequencies.
yeah.
So, that kind of stuff just, made me love it. That's the kind of stuff that my geeky brain just wanted to think about.
I
And it
think,
was all there.
it's interesting in that I think the initial concepts of the multiverse stuff I think are actually really great. I think having, one I've always appreciated, I think it's Earth 3 in DC, where they kind of have the crimes. It's not I'm losing the name, but where it's the evil Justice League.
Right. The
You
evil
got
Justice
Owlman
League.
and
Yeah.
Ultraman and
Right.
Superwoman, and I'm losing the name of it right now, but I think it's Criminal Syndicate, Crim Syndicate. But they've always
Yeah.
done a good job, I thought, of having some initial small things like that that really stood out, and kind of gave it a different feel. I think originally the multiverse was a great concept. I think in modern comics, it's actually become the trap door for laziness in writing.
Oh my God. It's so true. It's like, okay, how can we just erase everything because I'm sick of it or it's not selling? Well, let's go to
Multiverse, just pull multiverse.
625. What are we up to now, guys? Let's see, 632, 633. Yeah, let's just.
Well, and I think what's interesting to me on the way these multiverse things have worked. I think the Flash, right? The idea that Jay Garrick, completely different person than Barry, completely different outfit, relatively close on the powers, but very different individual. You look at the crime syndicate folks that they're out there. Owlman is very different than Batman, right? You've had Ultraman very different than Superman. Where I'm really not a fan of where multiverses have happened now, and this will probably be another video. I know your son is a huge fan of these films, and I kind of have
Yeah,
the opposite perspective of most people. I can't stand the whole Spider-Verse thing. I can't stand it. Um,
it's a bit
I,
of a mess.
I have no problem with a character like Miles existing. I have no problem with Miguel O'Hara and stuff like that. I hate that there's like a million spider people. That it's all just there's always a Captain State. Like in every multiverse, it's like exactly the same. Something happened. Like it just has become, I think, a lazy tool that they use. And that my biggest issue with a character, like Miles Morales, I think it's great that all younger audiences are connected to him. I wish I could. I don't really. It's kind of weird in that, like, okay, gets his powers bit by Spider-Man, bit by a spider. Gets a little bit different, but basically his costume's a variation of Peter's. He is involved with a version of Gwen Stacy. He is inspired in part by a death of his uncle.
Yeah.
He often fights villains that are very similar to Peter's. And while there's some differences, it just kind of feels like, well, we didn't really want to create a new character, so we just threw the Spider-Man labeling on this guy, and you kind of just carry over your affinity for Peter Parker to him.
You
And there's
know,
some differences with Miles for sure, but there's just those little things like that where I'm like, man, it's just really lazy writing in my opinion.
and I think you know, being kind of like a science fiction geek, I understand that they're trying to like, express and create stories in these universes that are parallel, extremely similar, but slightly
Mm-hmm.
different. And then the butterfly effect, like, if this was tweaked a little bit this
Yeah.
way, then everything kind of would have shifted this way. That's kind of fun to think about in a sci-fi fantasy kind of way. But you're absolutely right about the lazy writing, where I think it goes wrong, and this is troublesome, but it's the truth. It's like would every kid still love Miles Morales if he didn't have spider powers and wasn't connected to the spider?
Wasn't branded with the name Spider-Man.
Yeah, in other words, if you came out with a brand new comic, you're Marvel Comics, and like, I want to create a story around this kid who has powers, and and give him some kind of different ability, and give him a whole new line of comics. uh how well would it sell? And so I think it comes to a point of dollars, and it comes to a point of where they want to retcon something, and then it just like, oh, we'll just make a new universe, or oh, this happened in that universe, or Gamora's back because she's from a different
Yeah, no,
universe.
MCU gets
Yeah,
into that.
yeah.
Yeah. No, and I think
Or Gwen Stacy comes back, but she's from a different unit. She's from 622 instead of 619.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, comics to me it was weird in that a couple years ago, I want to say a couple, it's probably 7 or 8 years ago. They killed off Wolverine. Logan, the main, character. I gotta say, I hate that I have to say Logan now because there's like three Wolverines in the Marvel universe, but Logan, the main Wolverine that everyone identified, they killed him off. And I'm not a huge fan of that. Obviously, he's one of my favorite characters, but I thought, man, might be a unique opportunity to really see what would the Marvel universe look like without this character. But instantly, Marvel comes out with Old Man Logan from a
oh
offshoot
yeah, I remember when
story,
that came out. Yeah.
and that story, and now that version of Logan from the multiverse is just going to go into the main Marvel universe, and so he'll basically be the Wolverine of the universe while the main Wolverine is dead. And it's like, so then the story doesn't even really hit because it's like, okay, so Wolverine's not really dead. It's just an older version of him. And again, it's just these multiverse cheats where things don't really register. And that Old Man Logan comic was fine. It was entertaining. I enjoyed it. I'm a huge Wolverine nerd, but at the same time, it's like, okay, if you're going to take the step of killing Logan, taking him off the board of the Marvel Universe, you can't come back and then just go, well, there's a multiverse copy running around the Marvel Universe. It cheapens the
Mar-
entire thing.
Marvel does that a bunch. They do that a bunch. But I think you're you're cheating the audience and you're discounting the audience. Either that, or you don't have the writing prowess to really create a new and interesting character. So a lot of people think like, oh, well, everything's been done. A guy can fly, a guy can run, a guy can shoot webs. What else can we make a guy do? The human imagination is limitless.
Well,
Uh,
what's
give
so
me
weird
something.
is
Give me something brand new. Are we all dried up with ideas here?
I
And
think what's so weird is we've seen characters succeed where you don't have to pull because I think that's the whole go-to thing. Okay, we have to have Batman. Well, shoot, Batman Beyond. We'll just do a different universe. Miles Morales, different universe. He's Ultimate Universe. Different Wolverine, different this character, different that character. It's a multiverse thing. What's funny is like it is like you said, just create a new character. And I know there's some people go, well, it's so hard to create a new character. You have to have the talent. Like
that's
what's
your
funny is
job. Yeah.
people act like it's all these characters that are from the 60s, 70s, 90s or 40s. Deadpool is a character that was created in the 90s, very original personality. They found a gimmick that worked for him.
Harley Quinn.
He's the fourth wall breaking guy and he's got a different personality. And what's funny is comic companies, I think now it's just let's pull the cheap multiverse thing instead of creating a new character because it's like Deadpool didn't initially succeed. He had a couple titles get canceled. He had a couple writers who didn't necessarily hit. And then they found a personality, found a niche for him to where now there's 3 or 4 huge Deadpool movies that are
Yeah.
multi-million dollar successes. Cable was another character in the 90s that they found a way to pull and they didn't always work and series got canceled and then they found a way to integrate them. You can do it. You just have to have the creativity. And I feel like what's happened now, you just either multiverse it where it's just, well, I can't tell a story in the continuity, so this just takes place in the multiverse. And therefore I don't have to pay attention to what's come before. Or you cheat out of bad storytelling and you undo what you've done by it's the multiverse. I think, it's another character. And again, I don't have an issue with the character. I'm glad that there's fans of this character. Spider Gwen kills me every time she's on screen. Gwen Stacy being dead in the comics should matter. When
Yeah.
you have a literal other version of Gwen that's just running around, and again, I get it. It's the multiverse. It didn't undo Gwen being dead. I got you. And it's great that you found a female character. And if you're a fan of Gwen, no shade at you on that. That's great. I'll never hate on people having characters they like
The
that I
kids
don't.
love her. The kids
I'm
love
I'm
Gwen.
I'm
Spider Gwen.
even a little bit jealous in that I wish I could care and invest in those characters.
Yeah.
But as a fan of the comic, it just feels so cheap that it's like, well, we needed a new girl Spider-Man, Gwen Stacy. You literally could have come up with all these other things. You didn't. And then again, it's a derivative of a derivative of a derivative at that point where it's like, okay, it's a Spider-Man that's not Spider-Man. It's Gwen that's not Gwen. So we're going to make what if Gwen was Spider-Man, but from a different universe? And it just at a certain point, it's
Only in
like
comics. Only
right?
in
Like,
comics.
well, I
Because
think even in the movie now, it's like, what was it? Gwen's Peter was the lizard, and the lizard died. And so she's by his tragic death. It's like, again, let's just take a story that someone else wrote. Oh, we flip it around. It's multiverse. And it's not even, one of the interesting things to me is I think Star Trek did this, I think, with what the count, I can't remember, it was Counter Earth or anything like that, but you had, Spock's got the beard and you got, evil Spock
right.
and evil Kirk and all that. I'm trying, I can't remember the name of the episodes now, but
It's driving me crazy. I'm
intriguing.
thinking about it right now. Yeah.
But you didn't have like evil Spock just like stay around in the main Star Trek universe and just be somebody who's like on the crew.
Yeah.
Like it's just weird that like we just keep having this like, well, don't really know. Let's just do another version of it. It comes across as lazy. It comes across as a cheat. And I think we're honestly seeing this in the movies now. And that Marvel went full bore, the multiverse. That was their big thing. It
Well,
has the MCU has
you know
collapsed.
what the perfect analogy for it is the Loki TV show
Mm-hmm.
with the what do they call it? The time.
The
Uh,
time sphere or whatever, and the
it was the
timeline,
time. It
pruning
was
the
the
timeline, the
time.
TVA,
It was a weaving. It was
the loom.
a
Yeah.
loom. Yeah, it was a loom. Yeah, thing, and all the universes were like going. Wah! I feel like that's what Marvel is like at right now, and DC too, to some extent too.
One, I think, like you brought, I think Loki's a great example. Um, Loki dying in Infinity War was when I was in the theater, that was a genuinely surprising moment. Like, man, they took Loki off the board.
They did.
Loki's been on TV more since his death than he has before.
I know.
Because, well, multiverse copy of Loki
Yeah.
survived. Gamora, right? I
Grim-
thought, and it was the weakest part of Guardians 3 for me was the whole Gamora thing. Gamora dying in Infinity War. That's a big moment.
It
Like,
was
it would have
really.
been
It was.
really intriguing to see a Guardians film where like no Gamora. How do they function instead? Like, multiverse copy. She's a little different, but
She doesn't remember you.
basically she's not dating Peter Quill, and that's it. The rest of the thing, she functions
But
exactly the
that was the
same.
whole thing. It was like that was
Yeah,
his girl, man. That was
and
his
it
girl.
just it kind of and it's not that you can't tell good multiverse stories. I think what's so weird is that No Way Home Spider-Man film. You and I both are huge fans of it. That's a rare lightning in a bottle scenario where you have three actors who all played the role well, who, due to financial struggles at the studio or just age or bad creative decisions, you had a couple guys get pushed out. And everybody wanted to see them come back, and you caught that lightning in a bottle of, wow, these guys are back. I think this entire concept that they're trying with the movies of just, we'll just pull a multiverse copy of anybody out. It
It
doesn't
gets it
work.
gets it gets muddy.
Yeah.
And it gets diluted pretty quick. And it is kind of confusing for someone like me who's not a Marvel fan to go to uh a Spider-Verse movie. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
well, who is that? I have no idea. Peter
No,
B. Parker. Who's Peter B. Parker?
and I'll give the Spider Verse folks credit. I don't like
Although
it.
my son knows he's got it all down, and
Yeah,
it's on the sub list. It comes out, I think, in January. The new, is it Ultimate Spider-Man? I don't
Ultimate
know.
Spider Man. Yeah.
I don't know if that's Spider-Verse or not. Is that Spider-Verse?
Well, so essentially, and this is another major issue I have with it. Ultimate Spider Man. I'll probably pick it up. It's Jonathan Hickman, great writer. But it's
Oh,
going to
he's a good
be
writer. Yeah.
Peter Parker gets married and has kids, and he's with Mary Jane, and then he becomes Spider Man when he's older. And again, it's like in the main continuity, everybody wants him with Mary Jane. Marvel won't do that, but it's like, here's our little cheat of like, well, but in this comic, they
Mm.
are. And it just, again, it's like it's an inability to commit to an actual lasting change. And I think that's what you lose when you do this multiverse stuff.
I think, like, to fix it, I mean, I get it. If you're a writer and you want to write that story where Peter Parker And it's an interesting story. If you're a
Mhm.
Spider-Man fan, wouldn't you like to see, Pete and MJ like have kids and, you
Yeah.
know, and then all this, that's interesting. What weirds it out for me is when they're crossover all the time.
Yes.
It's like that could be like a 12 issue run, and I'm a Spider-Man fan, I would eat it up. That would be great. But then all of a sudden, when this Peter comes and meets that Peter, or this Peter's dead, so that Peter, like, how do they get between universes? Like, it just it loses something when they cross over as much as they do, in my opinion.
Well, I agree. I think it does, and I think the other part, and we'll probably talk about this another one. I really am getting tired of the multiple copies of each character. In that, what I think has always made characters unique is the idea that no, this is one man is able to inhabit this role, right? And I think the fact that there's a billion Batmans now. It's like it takes something away from Bruce Wayne. No, like Bruce Wayne is this one individual person who, through his own sheer will, determination, and grit, turned himself into Batman.
And I'm dealing
But
with
in this universe, there's another Batman. It's like it just kind of takes something off of it.
I'm dealing with like 48 different flashes right now.
No,
Uh,
I think, and
in
that's not even
Flash.
the multiverse
I'm
concept
like,
thing anymore.
that leaves a Flash fan like scratching their head, like going, "Wait, now who was that one related to, and what happened?" I can't quite recall.
When I think, we can talk about this a little bit too, and this is not necessarily multiverse, but I think I like you said with the Flash. I think multiverse, in addition to all of these, I think they call them legacy characters or mantle characters. The fact that there's like six people who are the Flash right now. You've
Yeah,
got Wally, and you've got Barry, and you've got Jay, and then there's Wallace West, and then you've got, I think, Avery something as a Flash.
Avery, Jai, yeah,
Yeah,
it
you
goes
have
on and on. Uh,
15 different people who are the Flash.
Wait a minute, what
And
happened?
I
Where's
think the thing that
Barry?
what's so weird is I think, the way they had the Flash, and I know for you as a Barry fan, it's probably not the greatest, but Barry dying in Crisis and having his sidekick, who absolutely would have been the built-in replacement,
Yeah,
become the Flash. In a way, in a story sense, that's brilliant.
yeah,
Right. I think in Batman, while I would never want to see it, if you took Bruce Wayne off the board, Dick Grayson absolutely has to become Batman at that point. Right? Like
yeah,
that makes sense. It's built in. And I think it's one of the things that's made DC great is they've always kind of had these sidekick characters that if the main guy gets taken off the board, whether it's Donna Troy for Wonder Woman, Roy Harper for Oliver Queen and the Green Arrow, you kind of have these characters who are built in where it's like, man, if they would get taken off the board, this is the easy kind of replacement of it. But we don't even do that anymore. Now there's just like four Batmans. I mean, it's like we got one of Lucius Fox's kids is just running around as Batman. You've got six different Flashes. You've got Superman and his son, who was like 7 2 years ago, but is now 19. He's
all
also
the
Superman. And
time.
there's a Superman of China, and there's a Superman, and it's like there's 20 Supermans, there's 15 different Wonder Womans. In Marvel, you've got Lord knows how many Spider-Mans at this point. And the whole thing is I think for not only for the characters they're trying to build up, because in all honesty, I think other than a few characters, when you say Superman, no one's going to go which one. You say Superman, that's Clark Kent. Everybody knows that. You say Spider-Man, everyone pictures Peter Parker. You say Captain America, everybody pictures Steve Rogers. Right? You can call Sam Wilson's Captain America as much as you want. The main image when you think Captain America is Steve Rogers. And in a way, it's almost an insult to, like, I think Sam Wilson's a fantastic character. But when you label him Captain America, it's like, okay, well, he comes off as like a lame impression of Captain America. Right? I think the same
Yeah,
thing when you have Spider-Man, as much as Miles is a good character, you're never gonna say Spider-Man and people don't immediately think Peter Parker.
yeah, yeah. The mantle characters. We'll have to do a video on that one. But yeah, the multiverse.
I just think when you mix that plus multiverse, now
It
we've got,
gets it
you
gets
know,
diluted. Like, you want to have and for your big characters, you can have them in multiple books. There's Batman and Detective Comics. you could have Batman in different stories every month, but to have two different Batmans, I don't know.
Doesn't really
Let
work.
us know what you guys think.
Yeah,
Like, 3, 4 Batmans. What do you think about 48 different Flashes? I'm dealing with the entire family right now. I'm trying to build the Flash family tree in my brain and figure out who
very
belongs.
difficult. No, I mean we can't even have like just a Wally West. There's a Wally and a Wallace West.
Two
Like
different Wallies
very,
now.
very intriguing.
Yeah.
No, I think Batman's got the same issue. You've got like 20 people running around who are Robin now. It's like, I get it, but like, man, it's like every single teenager in
You can
Gotham.
see you can see the Joker going, "Oh my gosh, there's a herd of robins headed my way. What am I gonna do?"
No, I think it deludes the character. But yeah, let us know what you think below. Do you think multiverses and a lot of these mantle characters, do you think it deludes the character? And obviously, look, there's successes. I think Barry Allen is a mantle character, from Jay Garrick, but there's a lot of differentiating factors between the two. But just let us know what you think. Do you think do you think these are good things? Do you think these are bad things? Personally, I think these are the things that are hurting comics the most. I think it's taken stakes out of it a bit. I
Yeah,
think, and I'll say this kind of in closing. I think, Mike, you mentioned this back in the day. They used to have where a new number one was risky, right? They
yeah,
didn't really know if it would sell, and so there was a reluctance to put it on the shelf. I think this last 5 years, I think I have four Daredevil number ones. I want to say there's three amazing Spider-Man number ones. I don't even want to count how many number ones there have been of Silver Surfer, which is another one I collect. I want to say there's been like six different Silver Surfer series that have been running, um, that run for 4 or 5 issues and it's done. And maybe that's just the way they deal with it now, is they don't want to deal with the legacy numbering. Maybe that's, something that audiences are
oh,
afraid
but
of.
then they get you with the legacy numbering,
Yeah.
and
No,
then
no,
they
that's
have
the
the
whole thing,
special.
right? Is it's
Yeah.
Flash did this to us. I think Flash had,
Twice for 750 and 800. I'm
yeah.
like, and they put
Well,
out
no,
10.
and I think Flash got you with they stopped. New 52 did a number one issue.
Yeah,
And DC Rebirth came and they did a number one issue until it hit like 750, and then double overpriced, thing to celebrate 750. They got all the way to like 800, and then now they're back to another number one.
yeah,
Um, it just, I think right now there's so many things. I think multiverses, mantles, new number ones. I think all of these are hurting comics. And we'll talk more about how we feel about those, but certainly let us know what you think. What do you think about these concepts, especially the multiverse? Really interested. Do you think it's hurting both the comics and the movies the way we feel it is? And again, thank you for joining us. We will see you in our next video.
bye.